Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in just a few minutes here. We're just waiting on anyone else that's joining, and then we'll get started. All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. This event will be recorded and will be sent out, and the slides will be shared afterwards for any reference points or anything you need. If you're a Justice HQ member, they will be posted in the Justice HQ hub so that you can go back and watch this or view the slides. So welcome, everyone. AI is changing our world, and every single day, if not every single hour. And my goal here is to create a monthly learning lab for you guys to keep up with the changes. How can you implement it into your own daily practice and things like that? So AI isn't the future, it's the next step. We're going to do a practical guide on how to adopt AI into your practice. So AI is reshaping the legal industry. It's reshaping the consulting industry in general, as well as the professional services. In a recent market study by AM Law, 60% of law firms are experimenting with LLMs, and there's an early adopters report that's saying they've seen drafting time reduction for about 20 to 30%. We are seeing that clients are asking people about asking firms and lawyers if they are using AI, and they're making their decisions based on how technologically advanced or aware they are and what kind of competitive edge they have. Also, AI is, you got to learn it. You're being forced on it because it's part of your professional and ethical duties as an attorney. Let's understand what LLMs are and how they work, and some of the key terminology that you'll hear and buzzwords that you're going to hear throughout the process. LLMs are, or AI in general, LLM stands for large language model. They are big prediction. They predict when words are going to come and things like that based on all the data that it's been taught over the period of time. I think right now the cutoff for most AI is June of 2024. They are predictive systems. They're not actually thinkers. They don't have reasoning, and they look for patterns. So they are machines. They're not humans. They do generate human-like responses. Because they predict words based on sequences, and they're able to get through vast amounts of text or data faster than the average human, right? You're going to hear that LLMs use tokens, or AI uses tokens. So what are tokens? Well, tokens are a basic unit of measure that AI models use so that they can actually understand what words you're putting in. So they're either a word or parts of words or a grouping of words will make up a single token. And the best way to think about it is every 100 tokens is about 75 words, roughly. It's not exact. So AI, it's available 24/7. It can multitask because you can create different chats. It's almost instant, and it's scalable, right? It's very cost effective, things like that. Things that you can use AI for currently, and we'll go into more detail on things like this, is going to be document drafting. And we're going to talk about which models to use in which instances. Document drafting is something that can help you respond to emails, prepare letters. It can even take notes and then generate a document or a summary based on taking notes on in a meeting. We'll talk about those features later. content processing. It can get through documents. It can do an analysis for you. AI can even do deep research for you, and it can hit up to 40 different sources at any given time during a deep research request. And it can help you find things that you're not thinking of. It can give you what if scenarios and things like that. So what AI can't do, and this is really important that everyone knows this as you go through and you use AI, because you can get penalized for misuse of AI. It does not understand emotions or complex ethical issues. That it just doesn't have that context or whatnot. It does have a tendency to hallucinate or make information up based on information it's gathering. And there are some cases that we'll reference later that talk about those hallucinations. And they don't maintain that much confidentiality. Anything you're putting into it is being used at some point in time in some way, shape, or form to enhance the product, the AI, and things like that. AI will always, at least for the foreseeable future within the next 5 years, we know that AI will continue to require human oversight and verification and some sort of validation. You do need to have proper security configurations and policies in place as you deploy it throughout your business. Also, you want to continue to train it on context. And as we go through the monthly learning labs, one of our sessions will be how to create custom GPTs that will be trained on what you need it to do. A couple other limitations within AI is we don't have enough compute capacity, meaning there's not enough servers in the world that can process or provide the amount of AI people are requesting of it. That's why we will see that you run into issues where it gets stuck or it goes into this loop because you've hit that window or that compute capacity. We also don't have enough electricity or power or energy in the world to support the machines that need to run and process AI requests and functions. So that's another limitation. And the final limitation, which is something that's all of these things are being actively worked on, and there's many some of the leaders are at Congress asking Congress to invest in more energy and more compute power and things like that. Memory is the third aspect that's completely limiting AI. AI can only remember a certain amount of information, and that's based on the context window or the amount of tokens it has. It will tend to forget things that are in the beginning of a conversation or beginning of a document the longer the conversation goes and the longer the document goes. That is another thing that we're working on as an industry to solve. Hallucination risks. In 2024, the Mata versus Avianca case demonstrated some real consequences where the attorney was used AI completely for all of his legal arguments, and it made up some cases, and he was eventually sanctioned for those. And this was a case that set some precedent. LLMs still show 5 to 7% false citations. We are seeing this especially as it takes over Google search. It is actually leading you to fake, I don't want to say fake websites, but websites that don't actually have real content and things like that, and it's just misleading. So you always want to make sure you're verifying it. Also, the courts have ruled, and there are the ABA has recommendations, and the state bar has recommendations about if you're using AI, you must certify it. You must make sure that it is accurate before you submit it to the courts, or you will be sanctioned. Right. Public LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, CoPilot, Gemini, they are storing your prompts and using that for training unless you're on a paid plan. They are also using your data to train unless you're on a paid plan and you physically turn that setting off. So in our next session, we're actually going to go through how to go through what settings and turn off things and make sure that you're not allowing ChatGPT or Claude or any of those people to train on your data. State and federal courts are treating AI hallucinations as ethical violations. And what we've seen is fines from the courts, at least in California. The largest fine that has been sanctioned against an attorney was $31,100. But the average fines go between $1,000 to $6,000 for the misuse of AI. There's some malpractice potential issues there and things like that that can get you into more trouble. There is argument at the moment about attorney-client privilege, and if that information is waived the minute you put it into an AI system or you use it improperly. So please be on the lookout on that. And I know there's active conversations even within your industry that is talking about this stuff. Everyone is talking about AI. Even a case text, Westlaw, Steno, everyone is putting AI in their thing, in their word. And the reality is they're all of these tools, and they're all specialized. So don't get me wrong, but all of these tools are taking a large language model and they are wrapping it around with their interface and their features, and they're building some training around it to make your life easier. However, you can get death by subscription, right? It's a real thing. You can basically have all these subscriptions and lose all your profitability as a business because you're not paying attention to all of the different vendors you're using, or you're just signing up for each thing. When ChatGPT, Claude, most of these can get 50 to 60% of these tools, what they do for you, all within one subscription. I'm not trying to pitch you on anything. I'm not telling you not to use these these services, but just keep in mind that if you're smaller with a smaller budget, you can probably get by with one or two of these tools plus ChatGPT to get you to where you need to be. Don't get lazy. Make sure you guys are verifying. Make sure that the tools you're using are secure by nature, that they are working towards either SOC 2 compliance, or they have some ISO 27001, some sort of certification that says they have good security practices in general. Usually this stuff is on their public website. On top of all of that, all your case management tools that you use, whether it's FileVine, Smart Advocate, Clio, that's all starting to incorporate AI, but it's very limited. It's task-based specific AI, like generate a response to this email or find this document, but it's not necessarily helping be a partner. And I believe that ChatGPT and Claude and CoPilot can be more like strategic partners as you get through your tasks in business. The key question here is, how can legal professionals integrate AI, right? How can you do it without violating ethical rules, without falling into putting yourself at risk from a cybersecurity standpoint and things like that? And really, making sure you're using two-factor authentication, making sure you're creating policies and telling your teams how they can and cannot use AI, and making them sign off on that is probably more important than any of the security settings you're going to do. You need to tell them what they're allowed to put into AI and what they're not allowed to put into AI, and you need to be clear about that. And that's probably the most important part about how to do this safely. Let's talk about the different LLMs. We're going to go through some of the major ones, but there's a lot, and I'm going to talk about when to use them and how to use them as we go through these AI learning labs. But today we're going to talk about it in a high level. ChatGPT or OpenAI, it's probably the top contender right now. There are better AIs, however, for generic market purposes, they're like the Microsoft of AI right now, right? Everyone has it, or the Google of AI. They're just, it's there. They have a lot of integrations, and they do have an open platform so that you can connect it into different tools. What is ChatGPT really good for? Well, it's good for being a strategic partner. It's great for drafting and brainstorming, whether it's contract clauses. It's great for generating marketing copy. It can help you with FAQs that you want to put up for your website. Writing, getting through depositions and looking for information within a deposition transcript is probably going to happen a lot faster with ChatGPT or something like Notebook LM, which we'll get to. Claude, I have a love-hate relationship between Claude and ChatGPT because in some aspects, Claude has a bigger context window. Actually, as of June, within about a month ago, they just upped their context, their token limit to 200,000 tokens, which is about 150,000 words for it to review documents and things like that. Claude is a lot better in writing and drafting legal documents than ChatGPT is. However, Claude does limit you on how much back and forth you can have with the chatbot and things like that. It's good for bulk analysis. It's good for doing research and things like that. But again, I think it excels at its large context window for getting through case summaries or document summaries, and for its writing skills. I think it's one of the best. Microsoft 365 CoPilot. It's using a slightly older version of OpenAI, which is GPT-4. However, it's baked into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. And so if you're on the Microsoft platform, it allows you, with CoPilot, you can search your emails for things a lot better than the regular Outlook search. You can have it search for documents with information within a Word document, not so much a PDF document. I've used it in PowerPoint to help create presentations. I did not use it for this presentation, but I will show you guys how to use AI for building presentations and content and things like that. It's also really good for if you use SharePoint as your repository. CoPilot is really good for searching SharePoint. It will find documents for you as long as they live in one of the Microsoft ecosystem apps. And it's just baked in, so it can go in and search and come back. And it uses the permissions that you have as a user. So if you don't have permissions to access the HR folder, it's not going to go search that HR folder when you're asking it to. Google Gemini is basically the exact same thing for Google Workspace. For Microsoft Copilot, it is as it is for Google. It is really good at helping you search through your emails. Google Gemini can actually add things to your calendar based on an email response, which is something that Copilot and other AIs cannot do. It's really good at market intelligence, and Google Gemini's most recent update as of May, they can do a whole lot of video creation for your marketing team. So you want to make sure that you figure out which platform or LLM does the person that you need uses. Now, we're not saying get every single one, but find one that meets most of your needs, 90% of your needs, right? Notebook LM has to be one of my favorite LLMs for research and creating timelines and getting through just raw data. Notebook LM is a Google product. It comes with your Google Gemini subscription. But what's really cool is it's not a generative AI. What you can do is you can upload documents into it or transcripts or research from different websites that you've done and URLs, and you can dump all this information in it, and you can ask questions, ask it to generate a timeline, and it's only going to use factional, whatever's in those documents that you provide it. It's not going to go out in the internet and look for things. It's not going to use any of its learning. It's using what you give it to create. So its hallucination rate is almost nothing. There is still a hallucination rate, but it's not there. The other really good thing about Notebook LM is you can, based on all the data you put into it, into one notebook, if you will, it will create a podcast-like summary for you where it has two people talking about the information you put in and summarizing that information. So if you're a busy person that's always on the road and you need to listen to a transcript and you don't have the ability to watch it, you can actually put the written transcript into the AI and it will summarize it into a 10 or 15 minute audio summary in a podcast-like format. So it's really good for knowledge management, knowledge analyzing, things like that. Here's kind of a side-by-side for the different things that the major models can do. And I threw Notebook LM just because I think it really applies to the legal industry and can really help you get through various case analysis. Like you can put all your medical providers into one notebook and have it read all those reports and summarize things. You can have it do an expert deposition analysis for you, where you throw in all historical depots for an expert, and then you can use it to ask questions about, was this ever asked in any of the depositions you put in, things like that. Really good for that knowledge management. Overall, though, I do think the top two contenders are ChatGPT and Claude, that really get you the bang for your buck. They have projects, and we're going to really dig into those two the most over CoPilot and Gemini. However, they function basically the same, different titles and things like that. And then I will definitely be presenting Notebook LM and showing you guys how to use that as well. So AI has, I think there's three strategic buckets that you can put things in. Are you looking to do legal research or some sort of analysis or market research, right? You're trying to gather intelligence. Drafting and review, redlining, looking for things that might have been missed. AI is really good for, what am I missing? What am I not covering? It's good at looking for those things based on context you give it for what you're doing. Knowledge management and administration, right? HR, your policies, your procedures, you can use AI to actually house that in a project or a SharePoint site or a Google Drive folder, and your staff can actually use it to ask questions like, how much PTO do I have? Am I allotted per year? Or when do I max out on my PTO? Or does the company offer disability benefits? Things like that can actually be used, so that way your HR team is not so bogged down with going through and answering questions that are in a document that can be answered by an AI for the team. Great ways to consider using AI is start changing your mindset, right? When you're looking at a task that you have to do, think about how you can have AI do it. You're doing litigation, you're researching a new type of case. Maybe it's a class action or a mass tort, and you need to understand the industry. ChatGPT and Claude can do, and Gemini can do deep research. I've pinned the three up against each other. I found Claude and ChatGPT better, and ChatGPT's deep research is far better than Claude's. You can have it do deep research. It hits up to 40 sources. It's searching the internet. It's really doing deep analysis to bring back a good summary for you. Couple ways to think about tasks, right? Claude, document processing, witness statements. You can have it help you draft testimony timelines, things like that, right? Document generation. Generating ChatGPT is good for preparing documents, right? Putting together citations if you needed to go out and look for citations, obviously verify those. Notebook LM is great for case analysis, evidence management, throwing everything in there and asking questions, and seeing what information is within it or what information is missing, right? AI is good for intellectual property. It can help you, again, do deep research to get a market analysis about a patent or intellectual property that you're reviewing for a potential client or a client. It can help you track activity and trends within the mergers and acquisitions world. It can help you even structure deals. If you get a company's financials and you're looking to do a buyout, or your client is looking to do a buyout, you can actually use any of the large LLM models. If you give it the right instructions, it can help you structure deals and pricing based on industry standards and things like that. It can also help you do your due diligence by really digging in and by asking questions. Is this missing? Do I need to look at this? What does it say regarding this type of issue? How is that potentially resolved? And it will go in and look for those aspects within documents and clauses and contracts. We talked about the patent applications, the tech, everyone's coming up with an app these days, right? Being able to use AI to do market research is critical and all that. Getting compliant. Any of the large language models can help you write the policies that I referred to earlier on how to document and how to make sure your staff is using AI correctly, right? Because you don't want a situation where a team member used AI, sent documents to you, they didn't go through their checklist of verifying the information, and you blindly trusted them and you submitted that information, and now you're getting sanctioned, right? It can help you monitor changes across documents. So if you're in dealing with a compliance issue, it can actually help you track changes within a document, just like the change tracking, but it can get a little deeper and help you find things, especially in bigger documents. It's also really good for risk assessment. You can put in your situation, you can tell it context about what's going on, and it can help you find where your risk lies and help you look for those exposure areas. Business development and marketing. This is probably the biggest use that we're seeing for AI, is how they're using it for search engine optimization, which is actually now a new thing that's coming out, is called AEO, not SEO. And AEO is artificial intelligence, AI engine optimization. We are seeing about 60% of traffic decrease from Google search to AI search. And there's a shift where more and more people are using what's called AI search, which is what happens in Google at the very top, or when you add the ChatGPT Chrome extension that changes your all your searches into ChatGPT, and it gives you those answers. So we are seeing a shift in the market that's going towards more of searching for things in AI. So it's more critical than ever to create more content and fresh content and unique content that's not just generated by AI. Use it to help you, but don't just take what it writes and put it out there. You have to give it your spin and your touch and your uniqueness to that blog or content before it goes out onto the market, because you will negatively hurt yourself in those things. You can also use it for creating your content calendar or your business development plan on how you're going to look for new clients, or what is working and what's not, based on market trends and what the industries are seeing. This wasn't supposed to say compliance, but this was, I'm one slide ahead, guys. I apologize. Again, it can help you create content. It can help you create your webinars and your presentations when you're speaking in front of groups, pitch decks, all of those things. AI is really good for. Now, let's talk about some standards that are being set, audit trails, and things like that. Start by adopting and look into, and I highly recommend all the attorneys in the room, please review ABA 512, its guidance requiring on how you should verify, supervise, and secure for your AI implementations. Make sure that you have policies, written policies, and what type of charts for data classification, what can you put in AI and what can you not, or what should you not. We can help you get through those types of data classifications and what's acceptable and what's not. And how do you get information that you need in there without really exposing yourself? Creating an audit trail, that's when you have a Teams account or like a business account with any of these LLMs. They do have audit trails and do keep, you may need to, for depending on the type of law you practice or what your clients require, you may need to keep prompt logs and things like that. How do you adopt AI in your organization? Well, it's about a year-long process, depending on how much effort and use, or how much effort you put into it, right? So first, you want to start off with getting a team of people that are just excited about AI. They are already using AI, and start piloting ways that they can use it and create processes and create guidelines for the rest of the team. Have them help, give them incentives. If they're using AI, they're probably upset that their coworker isn't using AI because it feels like they're slowing the whole team down. So create workflows, figure out which tools are working with your pilot and your AI champions within your organization, then deploy it out in Q2 to a slightly bigger, give some policies, give some guardrails for everyone to use in Q2, right? And then measure your success and measure your ROI, then continue to expand it through your organization. I also recommend that you continue to train and encourage your team to train on AI. There's a lot of resources out there. Invest in some of it because it's going to help you guys in the long term, especially as these models are changing on a weekly, if not daily basis. And hopefully by the end of the year, you have your whole team using AI. I've talked to some firms that are basically making it mandatory. It is part of your job requirement that you use AI every single day, or you don't belong here. I don't know if that's how harsh we need to go, but in order to get better at using AI, because it's so new and there's so much change, is use it every single day. You brush your teeth every day, you take a shower every day, use it every single day. Try to incorporate it in all of your tasks. Now, this is a golden nugget that I'm going to leave you guys with as we come close to an end and open up for Q&A. And if you guys have questions and answers, please put them up in the chat and we'll go through those. You want to give your prompt, this is the prompt formula. You want to give it a role, you want to give it a task, just give it some background context, and then ask it for a structured output. So what does that mean? You are a personal injury attorney that specializes in rear-end auto accidents, blah, blah, blah. Give it its role. Be specific. It's like a small 3-sentence job description. Then give it the task. I need you to create a chronology of all of these medical records or this medical treatment or whatever it may be. Or I need you to investigate or find gaps within these statements or witness statements or scene statements or whatever it is. Then you need to give it some context. This is a rear end accident that happened 3 years ago on such and such date, whatever. Give it context so it knows. That's one of the limitations that we're seeing in AI is it doesn't know what you're doing. So it's guessing, and that's why people get frustrated. One of the things that I like to do is when I'm giving it the context, I also give it a prompt to say, ask me any questions that you may have as you go through your process or as you go through this task. Then I also tell it, give me the prompt in bullet point format, give it to me in a chart or a table, or give it to me in a summary paragraph format, and it will provide it to you in that. Make sure to ask it to provide citations, so it'll hyperlink to any document that you attached or website that it decides that it's researching or attaching. So there's a bigger framework that we'll go on, but for basic, something to walk away with today is when you're building your prompt, you can say role, and you tell it its role. Enter task, and you give it its task. Context, you give it its context, and then tell it the output formula. And it will give you far better responses and a better result than just giving it a three sentence prompt and hoping that it responds back to you with what you're looking for. Also, by telling it, you can tell it to not make things up and ask you questions, which is one way to reduce the hallucination rate that AI typically has. So what's next? We are doing an AI monthly learning lab. Look for, we can always make recommendations for structured learning. There's a lot of resources out there. Let us know if you want recommendations, but we will be posting and emailing all of the attendees and posting it on the JHQ portal, our monthly learning lab. So there will be one in August, and we're going to be building on each of these things. Customizing your ChatGPT so it knows how to work with you better, so it acts more like an assistant that knows you versus just a general chatbot, AI bot. We're going to go through creating projects and custom GPTs to really tailor things around what you're working on and not letting AI get messy and forgetful and things like that. Build a culture in your practice that we encourage the use of AI, we encourage the adoption of AI, and that you're open to suggestions and collaborating with the team. So I'm going to call to action. I'm calling on everyone here. Start small, think big, govern tightly. Start taking steps to incorporate AI in your daily routine. If you have questions, you can always reach out to us. I will be active on the AI portal in the Justice HQ. If you need to email us, go ahead and email us, and we will make sure to get you responses or recommendations, or get on a schedule training for your team, things like that. Do we have any questions?
We do. Bob Diamond wants to know which ones do you like for pitch deck.
I like ChatGPT for pitch decks. And well, it's a combination. So one of the things that I like to do is you go into ChatGPT and you have it do some deep research based on context you give it, and you ask it to create a summary and an outline. Then you take that outline and you go put it in Gamma to help you create a nice presentation using slides and things like that. Gamma is another AI that I did not talk about, and I'm sorry for confusing everyone, but it is a great tool for creating presentations. After you create your research, then build an outline about your slide deck, and then putting it into that to create your slide deck. Gamma, yes. Let me send you the link, Robert, when we're done here. Any other questions? So if you have a good start with PowerPoint, with the PowerPoint already, and you want to have it edit the PowerPoint, Gamma can also, you can upload your current PowerPoint and you can prompt it to help make edits. Microsoft CoPilot is also pretty good at doing that as well, to help you edit your slides and things like that. Privacy. So on privacy, the issue is when what we do is a lot of people, because budgets are tight and things like that, they will use the free version, and the free version is really good. But what they don't tell you is that, or what they do tell you is that they are using whatever you put in there is being used for training and enhancement of the AI. And so for locking your environment down, there is a setting in ChatGPT that and Claude and all of them that says do not allow training. If you have the ChatGPT teams, it turns that off. When you're integrating using Google Drive, like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, right, and Gemini, they all allow you to integrate into their products. ChatGPT has something called connectors, so it allows you to connect to SharePoint, OneDrive, and your Outlook calendar. Making sure that that user account that's making that connection, so Mark Mina is connecting his Outlook, you need to make sure that that user does not have global admin access or is a super admin on the Microsoft tenant or the Google tenant, right, in the back end. You need to make sure that each of the folders that you're using in your OneDrive are using something called least privilege. This will ensure that the AI is not just randomly pulling data from places that you do not allow it or you do not have access to do it. So do not go in and connect your SharePoint and all that using an administrator account. I recommend you use the user account. And I recommend that you make sure that anyone's user account that's being connected to these apps or knowledge bases, you're connecting those using least privilege. Those accounts have to have the lowest amount of access possible. Only give access to what you need. Don't give access to the whole ship. I hope that answers your question, Marshall. And we'll go into a little bit more as we go through that. So AI is actually, we're not seeing SEO improvements at the moment. And Robert, I will email you, or I'll post it on the JHQ AI page. There is a really good podcast that came out talking about AI search and how it is taking over, and there's a big shift. And so making sure your website is now being optimized for AI search is more important than SEO, for example, and pay-per-click, because we're seeing that traffic decline as more and more users are shifting to AI for answers or for searching. Also, Google does accept AI content for ranking, but it will still rank original content over AI generated content. It'll hire more. If you have the paid subscription, you have to, for Google, for Notebook LM, if you have the paid subscription, you want to make sure that that your settings turn off training. There's always a setting to opt out of training on paid versions. You do not get that option when you're on a free version. So just make sure that you, and I can send you steps to turn off the training on that, and it should not. I'm sure they use behavioral, like clicks and stuff like that for their training. And they look at how you use the platform, but they are not using the data that you put in for training. Any other questions? So I wanted to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. Please make sure you sign up. We'll post up the next month's session shortly. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. We'll be in touch. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and the recording will go out shortly as soon as it's ready.
Everyone, have a good day.